it's me, GlitchWitch.JPG, and today I am super excited to share a conversation with Nick Cotrufo, the director of the McKinney family home videos, and his wife Molly Cotrufo, who stars in the series slash film and also was very involved in the making of it. So please enjoy our conversation. Hello, I'm here with Nick and Molly Cotrufo of McKinney Family Home Videos fame. How are you guys doing?
Doing really well, and you got our last name right on the first try. That
That's
is
impressive.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, how could I feel like that's not a hard one to mess up? People find a way. People find a way to mess. Yeah. Every family name I have is weird, so I try to get it right for people as much as I can.
Less.
Yeah, no, that was like Ted the Caver, like the guy that wrote Ted the Caver, Ted
Yeah.
Hegeman. I like mentioned his name in a video and he commented on one of my Patreon posts and was like, "You got it right." Like he was so excited.
That's
So now
sick.
I'm two for two. Yes, I am obviously a huge fan of McKinney Family Home Videos, and I mean that genuinely. It's not just because I have worked on stuff with you guys, but I love it. It's one of my favorite analog horror series, so I'm excited to talk about it. I think the first thing I want to talk about is I love religious horror, and I think that McKinney does it like better than anything really, just because I feel like we don't often see the Southern Baptists
Right.
in horror as much as Catholicism and everything else. So, what's y'all's experience with like Southern Baptist culture?
I think you should kick that one off because you were deeper in it than I mean I was in it pretty deep, but you were I think in it for longer than I was.
Yeah, so my family is very like involved in the Southern Baptist community. I grew up going to a pretty close-knit church, so if I wasn't at school, I was at church or at church-related activities. So yeah, I had a lot of experience in Southern Baptist culture. Some good. I have some friends I still keep in contact with. Some of it not so great. Just because like other religions, it's just very involved. So it has a lot to say over what you're allowed to watch, what you're allowed to listen to, the way you dress, the way that you express yourself. So it's not something I'm really a part of anymore, but definitely was a big influential aspect of my childhood. Yeah.
And I stayed pretty involved like in church growing up and doing like a lot of like youth group stuff, trying to get involved like as I got older and being like a person that was like oh, that was there or like just involved in church in one way or another. And I've been involved in churches that are like huge. I've been involved in churches that are super small that are like on the outskirts of town in a barn. So like I've seen it at its best and at its definite worst. And so it's all there. The trauma's all there for
Yeah.
sure.
No, and I think that's real. And I think a lot of times people focus on like the Catholic guilt when they talk about like religious trauma and just how like loud Catholicism can be. And I think that's why you see it in horror and you see like that as like the stereotypical religious trauma. So I was just very like enthralled to see this specific, very rural Southern Baptist energy in McKinney because I was raised in Michigan, which is very Catholic. Like everyone around me was Catholic. So when I moved down to Georgia a decade ago, like it was just a whole new world to me. And now I have so many friends that have similar experiences to y'all where, you know, they were just born and raised. And it's kind of what you do. It's how you find your community. You kind of don't have a choice. And that's a big aspect of like what happens to Dwayne and Jessica in McKinney Family Home Videos is, you know, they want a community and that's all, you
They
know,
got
it's hard to escape it. Yeah. So
it.
I really appreciate just getting the exposure to that. I don't know, like the aesthetic even just of Southern Baptism because you don't
The
see
Ethel
it a
Kane of
lot.
it, really.
Exactly. It is the Ethel Kane. She is the other one that really like she gets it.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I saw like she said something recently where she's like, people keep giving me rosaries on tour, and that's has nothing to do with
Not
what it's about.
give her an NIV. Why would you give her a
Exactly. But what is just while we're still talking about, you know, religion, what do you think makes religion so evergreen as a horror trope? Like we really can't escape it. And I know some people kind of think it's overdone, but I definitely maintain that it can never be overdone.
I think it's such a cool like genre. Like it's like when you say religious horror, it's like, okay, well there's like 20,000 religions and they all have crazy lore. So as long as like the movie or the story or the book, any sort of media like that, like stays involved with that lore and like does the lore well, I think it's just something you could automatically get into. And if it's in a religion that you're a part of or have gotten out of, it's like, wow, holy cow, I know exactly what this person is talking about.
Exactly. I think it's definitely more impactful when, the creator has the experience with it.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of, kind of like the generic exorcism movies are some of the maybe not as good
Yeah.
examples
Right.
of religious horror because it's just Hollywood's like, I don't know, do The Exorcist again, but then it
Looking at
doesn't
you,
work.
Russell Crowe.
Going into more specifics of just the story of McKinney Family Home Videos, I want to talk about Diana McKinney because I love Diana McKinney. She is one of my favorite, internet horror characters that I've seen in a long time. And she's such an interesting and like flawed female character. And I think we don't get that a lot in specifically internet horror feels very masculine with a lot of its characters. So
Yeah.
can you just talk about, writing Diana and how she came to be?
Yeah, so I did the work on Diana. I definitely got a little too into it at some points. I have somewhere on my other computer like a letter that I wrote as Diana to Dwayne, and it was going to be the last post on the channel, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna just save this. This is like it was like 10 paragraphs of just like babbling. And but it just like kept coming. Like I couldn't stop writing this letter. So like she's kind of this amalgamation of people that I met in churches and specifically like mother figures that like I met in churches that were really strict and really hard on their kids. I had a friend growing up whose mom was like he was my best friend growing up. I met him when I was 4. We lived together after we graduated high school. I would say we talked every day for probably like 25 years or so. But I remember his mom being so crazy strict about certain things and like just the way that like she would speak and the way like a whole room would stop what they were doing and just listen. And it was like, wow, it was terrifying as a kid, like to see it. But like now I see her, she's a delight. She's just like this nice lady. I think just creating this amalgamation of characters like that and bottling them all up into this one flawed person that in the end thinks that she's doing something very good for her son and for her family. Like it's partially out of like, this is revenge, but it's like in the end, though, my revenge is complete, and you get to go to this heaven that I have waiting for you. How great is that?
Yeah, and I think just to kind of bounce off that if I can, it's just really cool looking back at like Southern Baptist culture as well. Like women are kind of like a backseat in Southern Baptist culture. You're not allowed to preach, you're not there, you have a certain role you have to fulfill. But like Christianity through Southern Baptism gets carried on by women because, the idea is that it's easier to raise someone up in a religion than to convert them. So it's a weird parallel that like women are really the ones that are kind of carrying down this tradition, even though they're kind of also treated less than almost. I think her character reflects that a lot.
I really enjoyed that, especially with the second season, how obvious it was that she was kind of running the show when it comes to the Church of the Holy Mother and how unique that is, for a small town in Virginia. And I think that, that really, I don't know, it set her apart it made her scarier for me, I think. Immediately I knew that she was capable of convincing people
Right.
and because it had to probably take some convincing for some southern good old boys to follow a lady.
Join my church. Come join this church where a woman is running it. But I think that she also has this weird like catch 22 of like, oh, you're a man in this? Guess what? You get to kill women as part of this whole thing. So
She
then you also
knows what they want.
exactly.
I don't know, I really love Diana, and I love how committed you were to like Diana running the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Like there were a few times that you commented like on my videos or like other videos I saw, and like I knew obviously that it was you, but it
Right.
scared the shit out of me, to be honest. Like it felt like she was looking at me, and it was really scary.
I wanted it to be like clearly like this is some like 70-year-old woman running this account. So like things look weird. The way the videos are uploaded, like no one would ever upload a video like this. And even the comments that she's leaving are very like the only thing missing is her like signing her name at the bottom of the post. But I felt like that would be too on the nose.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was really well done. I love it. I think that's such a like beautiful thing about internet horror when, the creators engage with the audience like that. And I think that's what's so cool because McKinney lives in this weird middle ground of like it is a found footage film, but it's still very much in the realm of internet horror. Like you definitely honor what internet horror is and can be.
Oh
And I
yeah.
really enjoy that. So what about internet horror was like intriguing to you and the idea of putting this up on YouTube rather than just immediately going the festival route with a film edit?
Yeah, that was for internet horror. This is so, I mean, it's generic, but I'm gonna say it. The Mandela catalog was like this. We were living in this apartment living at this apartment, and I was working at a like on the phones at a call center, and so we were both working from home. We would take our lunches together, and we would watch YouTube on our lunches. And we watched this one guy who would just stream horror games, Hollow. We watched a lot of Hollow during this.
Yeah.
And one day he just posted this thing that was not a video. It was not a video game. It was the first episode of the Mandela catalog. It was a live reaction to that. And like every like 2 minutes, I was just like, oh my God. Like it just like it sent such a weird chill down my spine. And like I could not bring myself to watch for a while. I could not bring myself to like watch the second episode. I was like, that was the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Now I've watched it multiple times. It's spectacular. And I wanted to create, I started watching more stuff like that. Like Gemini Home Entertainment is definitely my favorite of them all. Winter of '83, things like that. And I was like, this is so cool that people just make this and then just put it on YouTube. And then that's just it. So I started the first one we actually filmed was Jessica Homecoming.
Oh wow.
And that one we shot it. We didn't have anything really written for McKinney yet. It was just like, yeah, we're just gonna see this. We had just moved into the house, thought it'd be fun, entered it into a couple festivals, and ended up going in. And I was like, okay, so maybe there's something here. Let's film more. And so we shot the first 10 episodes and then started uploading. And then I think maybe 4 or 5 episodes in, that's when Rob Gavigan was like showed up on Reddit and was like, this is underrated. People need to watch this. And I was like, what is happening right now? That's insane. It wasn't like some like
Yeah.
micro niche guy was like, I like this. It was like the guy with like one of the most popular analog horrors was like, watch this. It's worth your time.
And then people did.
Yeah, and then people just can't look at this. I mean, he was
Yeah.
just watching it. When we started the channel, like the idea was we'll throw it here and then just whatever comes will come of it. And now it's like by the time we started the second season, it was like, okay, all eyes are here right now. So now we have to like really bring it home. And I think that people that like saw it as a movie first are going to see it as the movie and like it as the movie. People that saw it on YouTube will have the ARG element of it, of being like, oh, I got to play along with all of this when like the messages were going out and nobody really knew what was going on. So I think that they both exist in their own universes, but get me, not me, but like not get me, but like bring in different audiences, like the ARG community and the people that just love found footage, both amazing communities that I've gotten to know over the past year.
Yeah, and I think it's incredible because you are bringing internet horror to the found footage community, I think, in a way that I haven't seen. Like the response on Found, because it's streaming on Found in the film edit, has been really cool to see. Like we did I was there for the watch party that Found did a few Fridays ago, and seeing like traditional horror fans watch it was so cool because they don't really know what to do with it almost. They're like so scared because there is something about when you add that, there's a little extra sauce to internet horror that makes it very uncomfortable almost. Like you are really like I do this is my stance when I'm really scared. I'm ready to punch.
Fair
Skin in the
enough.
Pink is like the most like punch worthy thing ever to me. And that's how I feel when I watch McKinney. So watching people that, are used to just your typical found footage. I think it's blowing their minds and I think they want more. And I think it's a great opportunity for platforms like Found to, work with other internet horror creators, and also encourage internet horror creators on the other end of it to use film. Because I think that that's something we're seeing more now with stuff like what y'all are working on, and also the Ted's Caving Journal, which was an adaptation of Ted the Caver. That was all filmed, and that was really cool, completely found footage. So I hope, I like that you're kind of helping both of these communities maybe expand a little bit. I think that's really neat. And I think it's really important. Like what y'all are doing is having a huge impact on both of these, really cool communities.
And that's so wild. Like just getting to like getting to talk to people that like I have like looked up to, like people that have been like, wow, you're a real like when and, like, I think me and like Alex from Mandela have like chatted like 2 or 3 times, and it's like this is crazy. I don't know how to look at you and be like, you made the scariest thing I'd ever seen in my life, and I was 30 when I saw that. It's so cool, and I love it. I love being part of it all, and being like on this sort of like us being part of this like interesting rise up of like internet horror becoming starting to move into like a sort of mainstream-ish light.
Mhm.
It's so cool.
It's awesome. And I think, I see a lot of people online still saying like, "Oh, analog horror's done, analog horror's over." And it's like so clearly not. It's just exploded, and it's
Yes.
not really, it can't be pinned down like it was like when Local 58, Mandela, and all those earlier ones. Earlier, it was only like 5 years ago. That's what's so funny.
Right.
When we talk about it, it's like the lifespan is so small that it really wasn't that long ago.
We're
So of
only a
course
real
it's gonna
blip here.
grow. Yeah. So I think it's just exploding and people are getting way more experimental. And then we are seeing that mainstream push. Like the fact that, there's going to be a Backrooms movie that A24 is putting out. Yeah. And Kate Pixels is actually directing it. And like he just did an interview with Last Podcast on the Left. And it's just weird. Like it feels like it's breaching containment and it's exciting, but it's also a little scary because like, how are people going to react?
How are people going
Yeah.
to react? And now that this is becoming a mainstream thing, what content is going to be put out?
Yes.
That's the fear, but not necessarily fear. I think it's awesome, but it's like, oh man, what's gonna happen when all the normies find it?
No, exactly. No, 100%. It's very similar. Like, I feel like during COVID, a lot of like normies found like fandom culture and it got really weird.
Yes,
So I fear that that will happen as well. But, we welcome everyone. We want everyone to enjoy internet horror.
exactly. This is definitely not like oh, you're not part of our clique, you can't sit with us. Like,
No, no. Please sit with us. Just please be nice.
yes.
Going back to more the making of it, what is the experience for both of you acting in a found footage project? Because that's always something that's intrigued me because you hear stories about, like the Blair Witch Project and stuff and how they basically made the movie
Yeah.
because they were the ones acting it. And you guys obviously were, in that seat too. Can you just talk about that experience a little bit?
Yeah, so for my perspective, which is kind of unique, like I was not acting like at all. And I mean that genuinely. Like all of these clips are like from when we went on vacation, when we went ghost hunting in a cemetery. Like so all of this is very organic. Like when I watch McKinney, I'm like, oh, these really are my home videos. These are just like memories that me and my husband made. And he just like took them and kind of sorted them in such a way that it made this really cool story. So um I would say I don't have any experience acting. This is just my real life. And it's just so fun to see it turned in such a different story and how people have reacted. Like when people are commenting on our house and being like, that house is so scary. I'm like, yeah, I live there. That's just my house.
We changed nothing about this. They're like, it's
Yeah.
got this real old vibe to it. It's like it's just how we bought it. Like,
Yeah.
this is just what it is.
Someone was like, that girl's really creepy. I'm like, thank you.
Right.
Thanks. Yeah, so that's just life.
And honestly, same. Like like in the first episode, like all I thought about was like, I'm gonna film this whole thing, but I'm gonna do it like every parent home video that from the 90s of just like, this is our house. Look at this room. And whoever I'm making this tape for, I'm going to address you because no one else, other than the person I'm giving this tape to, is ever gonna watch this for some reason. So I have no acting experience. I've made short films and whatnot, and like I've been in the background of things, but I've never done like actual acting before. So I just kind of was like sort of in that same boat of like, don't act, like just literally make this video as if you're going to send this to like your mom and be like, hey mom, look, it's the house. How cool is this?
And I think that's awesome, and I think that's why it's so effective because y'all are just being you, and then it does, like you said, Molly, it is a real home video in that sense. It's just edited and spliced that, all these scary, horrible things are also happening. Hey, you're a star too.
The voice acting really here.
Yeah, she was our biggest actor you got here.
I
Just
love that. I would have never like I didn't know that until the Soda Girl
yeah.
interview you did came out, and I was like, no way.
Because like I would be up till like 3 o'clock in the morning just like editing these things, and I'm like, I need a monster sound, and I didn't want to like sift through hours of just generic sounds. And she would just be on the couch next to me, just snoring so loud. And she has like these like weird snores where like it almost sounds like she's snoring and hiccuping. And so I would record it and then just slow it way down, adjust the pitch, and it was like, oh, this is weird. This sounds gnarly.
I
I'm
love that.
gonna put you down now. Please don't eat any more rocks.
But yeah, no, I mean the acting or lack thereof, I think that makes really good found footage. I think sometimes the overacting in found footage can kind of kill it. So that's something that I think really worked in y'all's favor. Like I remember, Nick, you told me that the scene in season 2 when the previous owners of the house are having the conversation, that was just your friends
Yeah.
having a conversation that happened to work with the plot. And that blew my mind because I'm sitting here like, this is the most compelling acting I've ever seen in internet horror. Because it felt so real, because it was, but it worked so well.
I'm literally sitting behind the camera, just like conversation that was just had in my living room, completely unprompted, and it fit the narrative that we had been working on for a while. So it was like perfect. This could not have been a better moment in the whole series.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly, which I love it. Talk about it a lot on my channel, but acting is something that internet horror struggles with. Not that there's bad acting, but there's just the resources aren't always there because a lot of, the folks that make internet horror are a lot younger. They're
Yeah,
in their teens and 20s, so they can't just go get, middle-aged actors to play adult characters, so sometimes you run into the weird stuff, but so whenever I do it feels authentic, I get very excited.
I get a lot of like for like the acting quote unquote aspect of it. Like it was definitely the biggest I think inspiration would be like Harmony Korine like doing like Trash Humpers, where it's just like there's no story, there's no anything. It's just people just and it's people and him just filming his friends do weird shit for an hour and a half.
Exactly, and it's always, I mean, that always works. That's always fun. It's
Exactly.
fun to watch because it
Yeah.
it feels authentic. When you were filming, what was like some of the more, I guess like road bumps or challenging things that you came across while, creating it?
Dwayne's hunting trip was just me waiting for a snowstorm to hit. I was like,
Oh,
like in my mind, I knew that season ended in a blizzard of some kind, and that was the only snow that we were gonna get that year. And I think it literally only snowed like an inch and a half. So I had to just run to make it look like it was like this crazy blizzard. Like it was flurrying at best during all of that, but moving faster made it all feel like, oh, this is like Wayne's stuck in a blizzard in the middle of nowhere. That was really difficult, and I think,
The last
yeah,
episode, the like crucifix scene
yes,
was such a nightmare. I mean, it was a beautiful nightmare because we're literally in our backyard with our friends, like, and we live right off the highway, just putting this cross up, and everybody's like gowned up, and it was
we're
a little
lighting we're
chaotic.
lighting a fire, and like the
Yeah,
temperature is like dropping so fast, like for no reason.
it was so cold.
It's been like
Yeah,
65 all day, and by the time we finally got like Lilith on the crucifix, it was like 22 degrees
oh
outside.
my God.
And so it was just like people being like, we have to move faster than
and her head
this.
would not stay up for anything. We had to
Yes,
wrestle with that for a
for a
while.
while. And then
Um,
one of the, like the nails came out, so then we had to take her out of the ground and re-nail her back to the cross. It was yeah,
it was a good time.
nightmare moment, but we got it done, and it looked, in my opinion, it looked great. Like it was very scary editing that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that image like lives in my head rent free. Like that's one my husband makes fun of me sometimes because when we're watching analog horror stuff together, especially when it's religious, I start just like going like, yeah, and that was definitely one of those moments for me. I was just so excited. And just to see Lilith, really in her full glory, because, we
Yeah.
didn't see her as clearly in the first season. Speaking of Lilith, what was your, inspiration or, thought process behind Lilith?
Are you gonna
Yeah, you got. I'm looking
uh,
at our.
show it?
Yeah, we have like the
Oh,
mask. He literally just keeps it on his desk.
Yeah, I don't know why.
For fun, I guess.
There's no real purpose for it. So I'll get it actually right now. The inspo for Lilith was the guy who played Lilith, Matt, gave me this painting, which can be seen in Move In, and he gave it to me completely unprompted. Like it was just like a, hey, I was painting, made this, thought of you, and I was like, that's crazy. That's a crazy gift to just give another person. But I love this painting so much, and I was like, I want to do something with this. So I superimposed it during Jessica's homecoming, and it wigged me out. It gave me the creeps, and I was like, Matt was over one day, and I was like, hey man, do you think you could like paint that painting on like a morph mask? And he was like, yeah, no problem. And he did that, and he put it on, and then we put a wig on top of it, and just like
Spooky.
he literally just like tilted his head like that, and I was like, oh God, no! Like it was so weird, and like that was another thing. Like I gave Matt no prompt. Like he got in the costume, and I was like, do whatever you think Lilith would do. And every Lilith take at Lilith's shot, I think it's one take. Like he just was so blood curdling uncomfortable to like look at. And he's just like a normal, super nice, quiet guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. She truly is him, clearly. She came out of him. She was
Yeah.
hiding deep inside him, clearly, if he painted the original painting.
Right?
That's the inspiration for Dwayne too, is he actually just like for fun was doing this paint series that he would give to Nick. And it would have Dwayne, so we have a couple of them back here, and it'll say, Dwayne is sad, Dwayne is watching. And we've been asking him for years, like, who is Dwayne? He's like, you'll find out. Like so it's just kind of this like weird running joke we have. And so I think that kind of helped fuel like
Yeah.
having that character inserted because
He's just always there.
he's like this mythical being in our house that we still don't really know the backstory
Or
for.
do we now know the full backstory?
Yeah,
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. That's so cool. I just wanted to ask y'all about the experience of filming such a scary thing in the house that you live in. I love scary houses and horror, and not necessarily haunted houses, but just scary, creepy, weird houses. And I think that McKinney does it very well, but I would be terrified to be surrounded by it all the time.
I am convinced the house is now haunted. When we first moved in, like we had a friend come over, we saged the house. She was like, everything seems fine. And I feel like ever since we like finished the first season of McKinney, every now and again, I'm like, something's watching me while I'm just kind of hanging out. There's been like little weird things here and there that have happened.
it's like a fog on one of the windows that keeps popping up. It looks like there are two little eyes, but like it keeps happening out on, and yeah,
I have
it's fun.
I have done everything I can because I'm like maybe the previous people had like suction cupped something on there and it's just like the residue. I have wiped that thing down so thoroughly, and yet without fail, once a week those eyes will appear in the window, and it always looks like they're like the way they're angled. It's watching me cook, and so it's just like, oh, I hate this creepy basement and all that. And that's where Lilith is. So like
Yeah.
every now and again, I'm like, oh look, there she is.
Otherwise, it's very funny. I remember I came home for lunch one day from work and Nick is like covered in fake blood. And he's like, can you open something for me? And like I just had to like explain to my coworkers like this is just my life. This is just what happens. I'm pretty sure we have like a fake blood stain in our attic.
We do. I can't get it out.
So I'm really excited when we decide to sell this house, what we're gonna say about that. The teeth that came out of the VHS,
Real teeth.
you got from a friend that's a dentist. Anyways, but they were randomly laying on our kitchen table for like 2 weeks, and people kept asking like, "Why do you have teeth there?" And we're like, "It's too long to explain. Just accept it."
And then I lost one of them. I don't know where like one of the teeth when I in that scene where I smashed the tape, there were two teeth in that tape, and I only found the one and it's me finding it right there in that video. And the other one is just gone. I have not been able to find it.
Yeah.
You're gonna find it like 5 years from now and forget and in the
Right, like,
moment and just why is there human teeth
right.
in my garage?
Why are these meth teeth in my
Oh my
in my
gosh.
basement?
The garage is the worst of it because we turned it into a haunted house for Halloween. And then we used that haunted house to then film an episode of McKinney. We have not taken it down. So we just have a garage full of like porcelain dolls and like a tub that was filled with fake blood and like skeletons hanging, and that's I can't throw the trash away because I can't go in there. Like it freaks me out. Like that is the haunted place of our house. Is like the garage is just so cursed.
And I have like one of like the mannequins like propped up by the window too. So like if you look at it like at the certain right type of
Yeah.
day, it looks like someone is just looking out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, filming all the scary things you did in there, I feel like you haunted it yourselves. Absolutely. It
Yeah.
sounds like
Full-blown Tulpa action for sure is
For
definitely
sure.
going on in this house right
yeah,
now.
and you're just keeping Lilith in the basement. Like I do feel like not to victim blame, but you're asking for it a little bit.
To be fair, yeah, and she's like buried under like she's half buried under a box, like one hand is kind of sticking out. It's like, oh man.
We also got a Nosferatu human size cutout. So like just if anyone breaks into our basement, they'll just run out. Like
Yeah,
we're
they'll be like,
yeah.
I don't want to be here.
okay.
This is not the house I need to be in.
You're safe there, yeah. And
Yeah.
your dog, I'm sure, is a great.
Oh yeah, our 30-pound Frenchie is definitely the guard dog we always. But we have like a neighbor who I've only met once, and he came over while I was filming a separate project, but I was in the garage, which has, like Molly said, has not been taken apart. And he kind of walked up to introduce himself, and I could tell that like 2 minutes into that conversation, he had stopped looking at me and was just kind of like looking behind me and was just like, "Will you get back to whatever you got going on here?" I was just like, "Oh my God." Hopefully he has yet to speak to me since then, and that was like a year and a half ago.
He's just gonna keep to his own. It's fine.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect that way.
Well, that was pretty much all I had. But is there anything, that you guys wanted to talk about that we didn't cover? Just, working on your experience working on it, or, the aftermath of it all, or anything you're doing in the future. Floor
Yeah,
is yours.
so we are, as you know, FoundTV has the first season of McKinney available. I can confirm that later this year, Volume 2 will be released on FoundTV. And we are currently working on a new project right now. It's still going to be in the same vein of analog horror, but we're shooting it all on high 8. Um, and it's heavily inspired by House of Leaves. It is not going to be a shot for shot of House of Leaves, but that is definitely like the backbone of this whole project. If anybody out there has a Dutch colonial house that has not been renovated, please hit me up somewhere. I don't know. I keep finding the houses and being like, this is it. And then it's like, yeah, but we just renovated everything, so it's all chrome. And I'm like, this looks like that SpongeBob episode. I can't shoot in here.
Yeah.
So working on location prep for that. And there's definitely gonna be more stuff with us with Found TV outside of that. So we can't go into anything on that yet, but keep an eye out for Nick and Molly Cotrufo. We definitely have some fun stuff cooking right now.
Absolutely. That's so exciting. I can't wait to see, anything y'all work on in the future. And I'm so excited that, all of McKinney will live on Found as well. I think that's
Truly.
super exciting. And
That's a
yeah,
good one.
I have the tape from Retro Release here. She's beautiful. Not to plug my own work as well, because I did the cover.
Right.
I did. I haven't watched it yet because I
Same.
got a new TV that I need to buy like an adapter for my VHS player, because I have been avoiding the smart TV for very long. I had literally a like a CRTV for forever. That was all I had from my dad. And then I had like we upgraded to like a 2009 Vizio flat screen. And then I got a good deal on a smart TV, and it still scares me. I've had it for about a year now, and it's too high tech for me. But I need to get on his after so I can watch all my VHS tapes on my
I
fancy
totally
TV.
get that.
Yeah.
I have like the CRTV in the basement, so if I want to watch it, it has to be in the unfinished, dark, creepy corner of the basement, which is also where I have the PS2 hooked up. And every now and again I'm like, I'll go down there and I'll totally play Silent Hill in the unfinished part of the basement with Lilith and Nosferatu right behind me.
No, no. Too immersive. Too immersive.
I know, right? Truly.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. It's been lovely talking to y'all, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get into the House of Leaves vibes with y'all later on.
Oh, and before we go,
Yeah.
you also did merch for McKinney that is going to be dropping here this spring. So everybody get that when that drop comes, because it is like some of the dopest merch I've ever seen. I've already got people that are like, I'll buy 3. I'll have one that I take to the gym, one I go to at shows. Like, it's gonna be so sick. I'm so excited.
I'm super excited too. Thank you for collaborating with me on that. It's been like this has been one of my like as a graphic designer like career joys. It's been so exciting working on this with you, so I really appreciate it. And I just
Yeah.
love that we're getting analog horror merch. Like I have a Mandela catalog shirt on right
Yeah.
now, and it's just few and far between. So I think it's really exciting, and I think people will be really excited about it too, just because we need to normalize more internet
Truly,
horror
yes.
merch.
For sure.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Of course. Of course. Thank you so much for having us. This was so much fun.
Thanks so much to Nick and Molly for sitting down with me and answering some of my questions about McKinney family home videos and internet horror in general. Thanks so much to FoundTV for their continued support of analog horror, and also working with Nick and I on the merch drop. It's super exciting. So I'm always thrilled to talk McKinney family home videos on this channel. It's a series that's near and dear to my heart that, I started out as just a fan of, and then I've been able to work in small ways as a graphic designer with, the poster and physical releases and things like that. So it truly is an honor to be part of McKinney family home videos. So please always support Nick and Molly. Watch the McKinney family home videos. Stay tuned for the projects they have coming up in the future. And I'd like to thank my YouTube members as well. The Creepypasta OCs are up on screen. And then in Survival Horror Emo, we have E-Rob and So-Called Punk. And then in Analog Horror Scary Face, we have Kira Coffer. If you would like to become a YouTube member, there's a little join button next to the subscribe button. But you can also support me for free by subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting, and all that jazz. So thank you so much for watching. Again, thanks to Nick and Molly, truly lovely, talented people. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.